Hello, this is teacher Melchior. We are going to study today English tenses, but we will only see simple present. If we say tense, this is a way of conjugating a verb in different times. It can be present, it can be future, it can be past, and the other tenses related to the ones I already mentioned, like present perfect, present perfect continuous, future continuous, future perfect, simple past, past continuous, past perfect, and so on. These we have many tenses in English, but our focus today is going to be simple present. Simple present tenses, simple present, this is what we are going to see today. We use simple present. Simple present is used to talk about habitual actions or repeated actions. This is a good thing to know. We use simple present to talk about repeated actions or habitual actions. If we say habitual actions, these are actions that we always do, or we do them most of the times. There is habit doing those actions. It's like our habit. We do them many times. We repeat them over a given period of time. So when we want to talk about the things we do as our habit, which are repeated, we use simple present as a tense. Now you can wonder how to make simple present. It is very easy to make simple present. We only take subject. If we say subject, you know it's someone or something which does the action said in the sentence. If we say subject, can be someone, can be a pronoun which replaces someone, or something which does the action mentioned in the sentence. Or in a few words, subject is the one who does action said or mentioned, plus a verb, but that verb shouldn't have two. All infinitives in English, most of infinitives have two, but when we want to conjugate a verb in a simple present and the other tenses, we remove two. So we take subject plus a verb minus two on the verb plus object. If we say object, this is a noun, or it can also be something else which comes after a verb to complete it. For example, if I say, I eat mangoes, those mangoes are object because they complete the verb to eat. So if you see object, know that's a word which comes after verb. Sometimes it can change. Examples of simple present following the structure I have given to you and following the context I've told you about habitual actions or repeated actions. Example number one, our teacher teaches us well. Our teacher teaches us well. The verb which is conjugated in the simple present here is teaches. Our teacher teaches us well. You can see S here. I will tell you about it. This is because it's third person of singular and verb ending ch, but we'll see it in details after this. We start our class at 8 a.m. We start our class at 8 a.m. The simple present we have is we start our class at 8 a.m. We start, this is simple present. Example number 3, we love our teacher and he loves us. We love our teacher and he loves us. We have two verbs. It's one verb conjugated in simple present, but it has been repeated twice. We love our teacher. We love our teacher. This is simple present. And he loves us. He loves us. This is also simple present of verb to love. I think now you have understood how to make simple present, but let's continue with more examples so that you know well how to do it. Example number 4 here. My father hugs me whenever he sees me. My father hugs me whenever he sees me. We have my father hugs me. This is verb to hug in simple present. Whenever he sees me, he sees me. This is also simple present of verb to hug. Next sentence is, my brother wakes up at 5 a.m. every day. My brother wakes up at 5 a.m. every day. My brother wakes up at 5 a.m. every day. The verb we have is to wake up. Wake up. It's conjugated in simple present. 7. Our mother sings well. Our mother sings well. Our mother sings well. Verb to sing here has been conjugated in simple present. The last example given here is, we do many exercises in mathematics. We do many exercises in mathematics. This verb to do is conjugated in a simple present. It means it's something we do many times. It is not only one time that we do them. It's repeated action. We do repeatedly. So from here, you can see that we use simple present to talk about habitual actions, and you have seen that we take subject plus verb minus 2 plus object. I think you can see how easy it is. You can try with your own examples. Notably, on simple present, verbs ending in ch, sh, x, or double s and z take take es on the third person of singular. When we have a verb ending in one of these consonants on the third person of singular in simple present, we have to add es after the verb. This is a grammatical rule that everyone should know. If you don't do it, if you don't apply it, it seems you don't know English grammar. Make sure that whenever you have such kind of verbs, you have added es at the end of the verb. Otherwise, people will criticize you of not knowing English grammar. Let's see some examples on this rule. Examples: Peter goes to school every day. Peter goes to school every day. Here we have verb to go, and because we have Peter as third person of singular, the verb to go which ends in or, we have added es on that verb because we have third person of singular and the verb which ends in or. Peter goes to school every day. The second example given here, Pastor Mpisi preaches well. Pastor Mpisi preaches well. Pastor Mpisi preaches well. Our focus here is preaches. because the verb ends in ch and we have past participle as the third person of singular, verb which should be added es. This is grammatical rule which we are all supposed to know. I think you have understood how to make it. Third example, Agnes kisses her boyfriend when they meet. Agnes kisses her boyfriend when they meet. Here we have verb to kiss with a double S, and we should add es because we have verb ending in double S and subject which is a third person of singular. Agnes kisses her boyfriend when they meet. Next example, Solange finishes her job at 6 p.m. Solange finishes her job at 6 p.m. Here it's verb to finish with sh at the end. Because we have the third person of singular, we should add es. This is what we have done. Example number 5. My mother coaxes my brother. My mother coaxes my brother. Example number 6. He quizzes them every Friday. He quizzes them every Friday. He quizzes them every Friday. We have added es because the verb ends in z. Now let's see other rules we have to follow when we are using simple present. Notable number 2. Notable number 2. All remaining verbs apart from modal auxiliary verbs take only s on the third person of singular. I will repeat again. All remaining verbs take only s on the third person of singular in simple present. We have already seen some verbs which take es. Now, verbs which don't end in the consonants you have seen, all of them should take only s. But we have exceptions. Modal auxiliary verbs, they don't take anything. You shouldn't add anything on modal auxiliary verbs like can, may, must. On these verbs on the third person of singular, we can't add anything. We cannot say he can't run. This wouldn't be English. Or she must pay me. This couldn't be English. On modal auxiliary verbs, we don't care the rule which says s or es. On modal auxiliary verbs, we shouldn't add anything. But on the rest of verbs, we should add the s on the third person of singular, as I've said. Here are some examples. Example number 1. He drives his brother's car. He drives his brother's car. He drives his brother's car. The verb we have is to drive. The drive ends in e, and you should automatically add s because we have a subject which is the third person of singular. That is why we have said he drives his brother's car. Sentence number 2. He eats only beans and vegetables. He eats only beans and vegetables. I have added s on verb eat because we have the third person of singular, he. My father, sentence number 3 here. My father lives in the village. My father lives in the village. Verb to live, I've added s because it has subject which is in the third person of singular. My father lives in the village. Sentence number 4. One of my students gives correct answers every day. One of my students gives correct answers every day. One of my students gives correct answers every day. The verb to give or need to have added s because subject we have is third person of singular. Sentence number 5. John often visits his family. John often visits his family. Here you will hear some people saying often, but this T is silent. We don't read it. We ignore it when we are reading or speaking. John often, it's not often visits his family. John often visits his family. Verb to visit, you can see that we have added s because we have John, third person of singular. Last example here is Rwanda needs good children like you. Rwanda needs good children like you. Rwanda needs good children like you. Verb need, we have added s because we have Rwanda as third person of singular, and I have told you that many verbs take s on third person of singular, and I've told you where we should add es. Now we have seen where we can add only s. We are going to continue with simple present, notable number 3, interrogative form. Interrogative form. Interrogative form. In the word interrogative, you can hear the word verb interrogate, which is like to ask. Interrogative form, when we say interrogative form, it's how we can ask a question in simple present because it's the one we are dealing with. It's not easy to ask a question in simple present, and that is why I'm asking you to follow me carefully and listen to all details I'm going to be giving to you, because it's somehow challenging. We bring auxiliary to do, which is not taken from anywhere. That is why you need to listen to me carefully. Interrogative form, it's how to ask a question. Now let's see how to ask a question in simple present. It's easy. This formula or structure is easy to know. First, we need to use auxiliary verb to do. When you are asking a question in simple present, we need the verb to do as auxiliary. So we should start with do or does. We will use does when we have a third person of singular, and after do or does, we will add subject. After subject, we will add verb. After verb, we will add object. Don't ask a question by starting with subject. Don't do that. Follow the structure I have already given you here. Let's see some examples of how to ask questions in simple present. The first sentence, do you know English very well? Do you know English very well? Do you know English very well? If you see in this example, you will see do, which is auxiliary to do, you, subject, know, verb, English. This is object, very well. It's part of object from English, very well. It's part of object. So, do you know English very well? This is a good way to ask a question. Don't say, you know English very well. Some people ask a question without using auxiliary to do. What they say doesn't sound English. It seems they are translating from Kinyarwanda to English without following grammatical rules which have to be taken into consideration while asking questions. So don't ask someone, you know English? Rather ask him, do you know English? This is the best way and correct way to ask questions in simple present. Second example. Does John live here? Does John live here? Does John live here? Is another thing you should know. On main verb, when it is the third person of singular, don't add es that we have seen here. Don't follow this rule. Don't add es on the verb or main verb when we have used auxiliary to do. So it would be ungrammatical to say, does John lives here? Does John lives here? If we add the s here, it's not correct. It's ungrammatical. If it's third person of singular, the es, so the es should be added on do, but main verb, don't add anything. Does John live here? If we give a question, we'll say, yes, he lives here, or no, he doesn't live here. Example number 3. Do your parents help you to do your homework? Do your parents help you to do your homework? Do your parents help you to do your homework? Don't ask, your parents help you to do your homework? Your parents help you to do your homework? This is not English. If you are asking question simple present English, we need do, auxiliary verb to do. So that is why you have seen it here. Do your parents help you to do your homework? Next example. Does Kubwimana read some books in the evening? Does Kubwimana read some books in the evening? Does Kubwimana read some books in the evening? Don't ask, Kubwimana reads some books in the evening? This wouldn't be grammatical. Please don't use it. Another example, which is even the last on interrogative form, is, does Rwanda have many universities? Does Rwanda have many universities? Please don't put this verb in simple present and say, does Rwanda has? After, when we have used auxiliary to do, we will only need infinitive without to. We will only need infinitive without to. That is why we have said, does Rwanda have many universities? Does Rwanda have many universities? So this is a correct way to ask questions in simple present. I think you will avoid mistakes that I've told you above here. And now we are going to see notable number 4. Notable number 4, it's negative form. Negative form. If we say negative form, this is giving negative answer, an answer which is not positive. In simple present, we don't do it anyhow. We have some rules that we have to follow. And to make negative form in simple present, we need subject. We'll start with subject plus do or does plus not plus verb plus object plus object. Example, I think you remember that we will need does when it's when the subject is the third person of singular, and do for the rest of subjects. Now let's see example number 1 is Rwanda doesn't have many natural resources. Rwanda doesn't have many natural resources. Rwanda doesn't have many natural resources. Sentence number 2. I don't miss class when I'm not sick. I don't miss class when I'm not sick. I don't miss class when I am not sick. Here, I don't miss, this is a negative form. And when I'm not, something else you need to know is when we don't use auxiliary to do when we have an auxiliary verb. When we have an auxiliary verb like be, can, may, must, and other modal auxiliary verbs, we will only add not after the verb. That is why I've said when I am not sick. This is auxiliary verb. This is auxiliary verb. That is why I've added not and I've avoided to do. I have avoided to do. So in negative form, for example, if let me give you some negative form with modal auxiliary verbs. I cannot drive. I cannot drive. Auxiliary in can, this is auxiliary verb, modal auxiliary verb. We shouldn't use do, we should use not only not. I cannot drive, or you should not come, or you should not do what is not right for you. Or another verb, we are not your enemies. We are not students. From these examples I'm giving to you, you will not find auxiliary to do, because these are auxiliaries. For them we only need not. We don't need to do. For example, he mustn't pay us after the deadline or after the time we agreed upon. So for auxiliary verbs, we don't need do, we only need not after those verbs. That is why in this example you have found I am when I'm not sick. This is also negative form, but for a verb to be, which doesn't need auxiliary to do. Other example, our teacher doesn't give us difficult quiz. Our teacher doesn't give us difficult quiz. This is a negative sentence, and you have seen that we have followed the structure I have told you here when we are putting sentences in negative form. Our teacher doesn't give us difficult quiz. Next example, the fourth example here. My friend doesn't have enough notebooks. My friend doesn't have enough notebooks. Please don't say my friend doesn't has enough notebooks. If you say he doesn't has, this will be ungrammatical. It will be out of grammar. We need always infinitive without to when we have used auxiliary to do, whether it's in interrogative form, whether negative form. The main verb, which is not auxiliary, should always be infinitive without to. Sentence number 5. Claudine doesn't clean her room. Her mother cleans it for her. Claudine doesn't clean her room. Her mother cleans it for her. Claudine doesn't clean her room. Her mother cleans it for her. This is a negative sentence. I think you now have seen and understood how to make, how to use simple present. First of all, we have seen that we use simple present to talk about habitual actions or repeated actions. I also have told you some verbs which take es on the third person of singular. I also have told you verbs which take only s on the third person of singular. I also have told you that for modal auxiliary verbs, we don't need to add anything. We shouldn't add anything. We shouldn't add es. We shouldn't add s. It should remain the way it is. And I have taught you how to use or to make interrogative form in simple present, how to ask a question in simple present. I also have taught you how to use negative form in simple present. I think you have enjoyed the lesson today, and I think now you have discovered new things that you haven't known before. I would like to advise you to try to practice what you have seen through making some sentences. You can also make some research, and we will continue with further details or other tenses in next sessions. So thank you for having carefully followed the lesson that I have prepared for you. Thank you. See you.